Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gore Column, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, you can see him on the screen. We're happy to have him back. Bernard Tourillon, Chairman, CEO, HPQ Silicon Resources, trades in Canada under HPQ, and for our friends in the US under HPQFF. For those of you who are new to the story, quick description. The company is a Canadian producer of what we like to call innovative silicon solutions. They're building a portfolio of unique, high-value specialty silicon products that are needed for the coming renewable energy revolution. More than just lip service, they've already received their first order for spherical nanosilicon from a major automobile manufacturer. They've got an NDA with at least 2 battery players that we know of. But today we're talking about hydrogen. The press release is HPQ receives TSX Venture approval to proceed with EBH2 green hydrogen extraction technology venture. That's a lot to chew on. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for it's fun being back.
Last time we spoke, it was August 23rd when you announced that you entered into an MOU.
24th, my friend.
I was on vacation, so if I missed it by a day, pardon me on that one. Where you said that you launched a breakthrough green hydrogen extraction technology venture. So for those who were on vacation or didn't know about us at the time, give us a basic overview of what you're doing here, of what this is. We're not going to go into all the details because we have time for that, but a basic overview, why is it so important? What does this technology do that's so unique?
Well, there is we all talk about going green, reducing carbon emission, and basically hydrogen is seen as an energy source of the future. The problem with hydrogen is that most of the hydrogen produced at low cost is produced using basically fossil fuel. So you either have gray or blue hydrogen, which basically don't really have a good carbon footprint. So the holy grail that everybody's looking for is being able to manufacture green hydrogen, which is basically hydrogen manufactured by electrolysis, and have a cost that's going to be equivalent, match, or eventually below the cost of making blue or gray hydrogen. So this is the opportunity.
And you describe it as a proprietary low-cost electrolysis technology that can extract from virtually any water source, including salt water, green hydrogen. That sounds simple, but it's also incredibly powerful.
Well, it's simple. It's a process that's been sort of fundamentally known for a long time. Making hydrogen by hydrolysis has been known for a long time.
Okay.
The problem has been the efficiency of the system of extracting hydrogen, the energy costs. Okay, so it's basically the energy entrance and how much hydrogen you produce. So it's not very complex. This is where the key. So basically, what ABH2 did is they developed an extremely efficient way of doing this. Now, this is not something completely out of science fiction. This is the goal, and you even have the U.S. government says, by 2050 we got to reach this goal. Now, ABH2 believes, and I have no reason to doubt them, that they've already reached that goal, which is a $1 kilogram per US $1 per kilogram of hydrogen produced. If that, once we validate this, then it's going to become very, very interesting. So HPQ had a unique opportunity to enter this venture because it fits over the general vision of what HPQ is. We are, in innovative solutions. We are developing technologies for making the world, greener. And we've done that in silicone. We've done that in nano silicone. We've done that in fuel silicone. And if we had an opportunity to do it, hydrogen has always been a sector that interests us.
But does it interest everybody, Bernard? Like, is this the holy grail to get green hydrogen at $1 per kilogram? I mean, isn't that a major breakthrough, or is that comme ci comme ça?
No, it's a major breakthrough in the sense that they strongly believe that they've reached that, and within the next 60 days we'll validate if that is there. The question has always been, if this is validated, this is massive. Okay, if it's not validated, it's nothing. that's sort of like
how concerned are you about the validation process? Does it, because is it just going to be are you just going through this because you have to check off the boxes, or is this a real potential sticking point? Because it seems like going through a lot of energy. You're changing a designation on the TSX venture.
Oh, that has nothing to that was part of the business
of the venture. It seems like there's a lot.
Yeah, but that's just normal. The way that the freaking system operates. It's like people. I think people have a tendency to try to create their own mental picture of what really goes on. Okay, this is not very complicated. This is a deal where there is share issuance. Okay, anytime you do a share issuance, even when I paid you in shares, there's a legal process and there's a regulatory process you got to go through. So when a company like HPQ signs a deal, okay, which require us to issue shares because we are on the venture, okay, we need to have TSX venture approval to do it. That's as simple as that. It's just that was the one part technically that needed to be done. So until that was done, we couldn't plan for the other one, because the other side says, well, I don't want to do everything else, and then you can't pay me because TSX Venture said no.
Got it. Okay.
We had no doubt we would go through it, but it was 30 days spent dealing with the legality of it and just the paperwork behind it.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, now that you've got, okay, so now we get the why that had to happen. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of confidence that the validation is going to go as expected?
It's I would say 5N.
Try to be pen, but I think you're pretty confident. You guys must all feel.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident about it.
You're not just going in there with a hope and a prayer. You've got a pretty good idea of what's coming.
Well, the system work. I've seen the system work. I had discussion with the guys that are going to do the validation with me, which are hydrogen expert. There are some question marks, but it's not very difficult to answer. It's basically, what's in, what's out. Does it work within the process? What's their secret sauce and how the process works?
What's pretty amazing is that, and again, we're doing this just a small excerpt for people who aren't up to speed. EBH2 is scalable with no limits. I mean, that's saying something. It can power a small domestic generator up to ships, factories, buildings, cryptocurrency mines, and even cities. First.
But let's be very clear. What the ABH2 system is, and that's why I now call it a green hydrogen reactor. Okay. It extracts the energy, the hydrogen from the system. Then that hydrogen can be used, okay, to power all these things. Okay. So it is a reactor to extract efficiently hydrogen from water. That's what it is.
First usage, because everyone's probably thinking, okay, where are you going to commercialize first? If you can do everything from cities to generators, home generators, but the first usage is going to be HPQ will be incredibly well positioned to make green silicon material. So you're going to eat your own cooking at the end of the day. When do you start that, and how much smarter does that make? How much better does that make your silicon materials in terms of their green nature, because they're already very green to begin with? How much stronger does that make it?
Well, you see, you have to look at the entire worldwide how silicon is produced. Okay, and it gives me an opportunity to talk. Right now, there's even a deficit in the manufacturing of silicon. So there hasn't been a company, okay, that has rethought and reinvented transforming quartz into silicon like HPQ and pyrogenesis have done. Hasn't been anybody who's done this. Okay, we've been doing this for 6-7 years. We're about to have a pilot plant, started to demonstrate this. We know how the process works. So there's going to be massive demands for our technology and our system going forward, because we can produce cheaper just for the simple fact that we use less raw material and our system is more efficient. Okay, we use less and we can use cheaper raw material than our competitors. So we will always be cheaper than everybody else. We'll be the cheapest producer. Now, all manufacture of silicone, okay, to extract the oxygen from the Si in quartz, okay, you need a lot of electricity. You need a lot of heat, a lot of process. That's how the process works. That's what it's called a carbothermic process. So usually the reason why people ended up building big system at scale is because they needed to plug themselves where there's a lot of electricity capacity, right? So the cost of your raw material, which is energy, becomes very, very important in your end product. So we're now living in a phase where all of that is changing. I've just read somewhere that because the cost of electricity going up in Spain, Ferroglobe, which is one of the biggest players in the industry, is shutting down more and more of their ovens because it's too expensive for them to make. So the energy component, okay, is a very key component. So with pyrogenesis, we resolve the raw material part of the equation. We resolve the end product part of the equation. In a sense, we use less raw product to make a higher quality product. Combining this with ABH2 then gives us the opportunity to have the energy required to do it on demand anywhere. So where we end up installing our system or selling our system, okay, doesn't become dependent on the energy source. Now, in a world that wants to remove the supply risks, okay, wants to have closer supply chain, that's going to be coming along. In a world where the US government says they want to go all solar, but they got to buy all their freaking solar panels from China because that's where the polysilicon has been made, other than 2 manufacturers in the US. And if they want to scale up, they got to invest $2-3 billion. You understand it's a very capital intensive moving forward. So if by being able to have our connection with ABH2, we can then offer much more tailor-made solution anywhere in the world to people using silicone, and people use silicone in everything in their life. I think we have an incredible advantage in HPQ for our silicone technology. So that's where the deal is so important to us. It increases. Right. The biggest cost that we don't control, okay, we can't control, is energy. When energy cost goes up, the cost. This is the big issue with making silicone right now in the world, all right? Is that 80% of your costs are variable and you don't control them. And 30% of that, 80%, is the energy cost. So what the PureVAP system does, combined with the EPH2, is it gives us full control over that 80%. That's not a bad deal if the technology works. That's really worth our while to take a look at this. So, we've always been forward thinker. We've always been, looking at a problem and trying to see a different solution. And that's part of the process of what we do. And that's why we say we're innovative. We don't do things like everybody else. That's the definition of innovation.
By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out something you just kind of slid into your quote. And as we get closer to having multiple pilot plants operational, I know this is a bit of a, we're going off on a bit of a tangent, but I had to address that. You want to add some color to that for everybody?
Sure. Well, I think people need see. I get a lot of the feedbacks from investors, and one of the reasons why I like to have multiple verticalities in multiple projects is that an R&D company or a development technology company like we are, okay, our development doesn't come in the same rhythm, okay, that what investors would like. So they always like to have news flow, and we have periods where it doesn't work. So by being a company like us with multiple verticalities, we have multiple channels to create news. Now, one of the things I've been saying this year, and I don't think people, it's been dawning on them. Well, it dawned on them a bit when we went to 168 and the stock moved being, and then it sort of like became fuzzy in people's minds just because the market wasn't that keen interested, is that in 2021, 2022, we will have 2 projects, okay, at industrial scale pilot plant, validating the commerciality moving forward. So when I'm here talking with you and when I talk to investors, I think I need to remind them that this is where we are in the development scheme. So I keep saying we're multiple years in advance, yes, because a lot of people keep moving and moving on. I'll just give an example of the significance of having that pilot plant for the QR operation. Right now, the prices of silicone has gone through the roof. Okay, it went from $2 a kilogram to $4 a kilogram for the metallurgic grade silicone, and from $8 a kilogram for the solar grade to $40 a kilogram.
Why is that?
Just because all the plants have been closed. It's not easy to restart. People are unsure where it is. Some plants are in China, they're having energy issues. All those issues are coming to roost. Okay,
China's having major issues, by the way. That's
well, but
this week.
Basically, that was it. They took over the industry by subsidizing cheap energy, but now it can't work anymore. So all these realities are coming together, and we're going to have solution for the markets to move forward. But the point I wanted to make is with our QRR technology, we control the raw material. Now, if you're a company that just do nanoparticles for anode batteries, that means you buy your silicone. Okay, so that means when you design your R&D for your encapsulating, whatever technology you're developing, you had cost estimates, which was, I'm going to pay about, $8, $5 a kilogram. Okay, well, that completely went out the window. Because people are using CVD process, which basically is use saline gas to make perfect nanoparticles of silicone. Their raw cost material went from $8 to $40 a material. And you guys are thinking the battery manufacturers are going to really care the price go up? Says, no, you committed to these things. So this is the reality where the market is, but we will never be affected by this because we control the entire verticality. And you add ABH2 into this, and we then control the final part, which is the energy component into it. So I think it's a very good deal. And in addition to that, as a bonus, I'm starting to sell like the basically
like an infomercial.
That's the word I was looking for, like the infomercial. And in addition to this, you got an extra one.
There's more.
There's more, of course. But with ABH2, when we create ABH2 North America, we're going to have specific products to start to sell to start generating revenues. For ABH2 for us, that we'll generate into it. So that's what I think really makes it an interesting proposition. So if we validate the technology now for the small system, we're going to start validating the ones for houses. That can become an immediate revenue stream for ABH2 North America and ABH2, which HPQ is involved into it, as we develop the bigger system, which is part of what we're really moving forward. So I think it's a win-win-win. Now it's down to, validating technology, and, we started the ticker clock for 60 days. It might be 63, 64, it's me.
58,
but, maybe once in a blue moon, I may actually come on time.
Everything goes well, validation goes well. You kind of touched on commercializing.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start? Because in the press release, you talk about a $2.5 trillion market by 2050. That's a long way off, but obviously it's a pretty big market even today if you get there. Where do you start? What verticals do you go after?
Well, I'm going to be very honest. I think it's going to follow a bit the way it's going to work in the battery space. Once we announce, we validate, we show more of the numbers in a reference frame that our end user are going to want to take a look at it. Then we'll start discussion. We'll have the first model that we're able to present, to go to trade shows, to start talking about it. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be, car manufacturers, going to be like a generator manufacturers going to want to start having discussion with us. So there'll be multiple, ways of marketing the system. We will have an operating system. We'll have an ability to present it, sell it, demonstrate it. But it will be sort of like another company that will have its own, team to do all those issues. But HPQ will be very involved as an active shareholder and eventually as a very significant royalty holder.
When you mean the system, I'm presuming one size doesn't fit all. You can't put something into a house and another one to a generator. So
eventually we'll have multiple systems. I think the plan of ABH2 is to have their own, like many of those companies, they're going to have their own research center that's going to, develop a series of additional projects. They already got one model that's already ready for commercialization, and then they'll work with other models at the same time as they're going to work at demonstrating it can scale up to power a system like in like the PureVac pilot plant. Okay. once we have that demonstration system, that big demonstration system, then that's going to be another complete ball game. Because in reality, because if you read correctly, it's all HPQ technology. So as HPQ starts developing technologies that require energy, we will be able to bundle those technology with the ABH2 and sell them anywhere in the world. So, the potential is massive. But, so it is in batteries.
Potential is always massive, devil's advocate. Potential is always massive in any market. I'm holding on to a pen, you can't see because of the green screen, but, the potential to revolutionize pens is a massive market because pens are used all over the world. What gives you the confidence that you're going to be able to penetrate the markets that you want to go after? Because you have to select a couple of verticals. And by the way, how long will it take to, make sure you got the systems necessary to adapt to, whether it's home generators or whatever verticals you're going after?
You know what? I'll come up with timeline after. Let's resolve the first issue first, which is validating. Then we'll come up with timelines for all the other issues. Not that I have any doubts about it, but it's like I've learned from experience that plans change. It's a bit like the military snafu. So situation normal, all fucked up. It's because plans evolve, plans change. Only crazy people don't change their mind or change the way things advance. So you have to be very flexible in moving forward. So at this point in time, it doesn't make any sense for me to come and say, we're going to do everything there. Present you a Gantt chart. I did that at the beginning, my Gantt chart. If you show my first Gantt chart in reality now, it doesn't work. But if I look about it, we're much better positioned now than we ever were before. So, but we have a good idea where we're going.
Reading between the lines, your last heading in the press release was HPQ start process to change its classification from mining issuer to technology issuer. That in itself is probably not an overcomplicated process. But the bigger question is, what does that say about HPQ now? Because it seems like you're all in now.
We were always all in. We always knew that this moment would come. Because once you start developing a technology for your own process, then you get stuck with the quartz deposit moving forward. And I think I've said it many, many times over. I just don't want to bother with the mining side of the operation. So it was, of course, very evident that at one point the TSX would come knocking and says, knock, knock, knock. Oh, you guys, you sort of done what's called a creepy change of nature. But we knew this, so we were prepared for this. We were actually, we actually almost finished the document to do it. I have to review it. It's going to be long because it has to be done in French and English. That's going to be the complicated part for us, just more internally. But it's not it's not a difficult process because we meet the criteria. We meet the criteria to be a technology company. It was just at what moment what would be the right trigger to do this? Okay,
and that's what I was going towards. I know you've been all in, obviously, on this for the last 6-7 years, but what should your shareholders infer from this? What was the final trigger? Is it because you're just around the corner from pilot plants going live, or is it this transaction, or a combination of the above?
All of the above. And I'll tell you why. It's like originally when we started developing the technology, we signed an engagement with the TSX that we would only be using our quartz and we will only be using for ourselves because that's how it fits within the concept of verticality increasing for a vertical line. Now, as we now look at, generating the energy to operate our system, we're starting to push the boundaries a bit more where we are. But that was always part of the system. The reality is, as we get closer to commercialization, under the old headline as a mining company, I couldn't sell my technology to if that was one of the business route I wanted to say. So if I wanted to partner up with another company who was just interested in the QRR and the nanotechnology, it would be very difficult within the constraint of being a mining company. So we knew that was coming. We had discussion with the exchange, when was the right time, and this became, the ABH2 became the perfect excuse for us to do it, which we're very happy. It's like it's not a constraint, it's something to be very happy. So pretty soon it won't be HPQ silicone resources, it'll be HPQ silicone. And we're gradually going to be moving forward. So it's going to, and I wanted the timing to come at the end of this fiscal year so that next year we can have an AIF, we can have like much more material. Depending where we are, we could actually be tier one. Could we move to TSX? Could we go to other markets? These will all become possible, but it was impossible when we were sort of a bastard child. Okay, we were a technology company that was called a mining company. So we were sort of a bastard. We didn't fit anywhere. So that always made sort of a problem when you talk to bigger investors. Where do we fit in? Is it a technology fund? Who's going to put money into the company? Not that's been an issue for us because we've been able to raise money very, very, very well, but it becomes an issue as we move forward. So sort of simplifies the entire marketing part of the company.
Last question for you. We're on the eve basically of Q4, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the fact that you're just around the corner, and how should shareholders feel that you're just around the corner from, pilot plants, this new hydrogen venture? How should the investors feel, and how do you feel about where your progress to date? Are you where you want to be? Are you ahead of schedule, behind schedule? And maybe schedule is schedule is probably not most important. Are you ahead of where you want to be from a technology perspective, or are you just where you expected to be? How good do you feel?
You got to remember that we have multiple verticalities. So not every verticality is the same place. So I'm sort of almost say all of the above again as a type of answer, like easy answer, all of the above in a certain way, but I'm very happy where we are. I was not anxious in a sense, negative anxious, but anxious like, okay, I really wanted Q4 to come around. Just because Q4, I know it's going to be the start of Q4, but after that, you got Q1 next year and you got things. But, when you're building a big system, like we were building the QRR, because, I went to visit the plant a few times. It's something to see. It's going to be something to see when we get the electric current going, and that thing is zapping. It's going to be over 2,000 degrees in one part of the plant. It's going to be okay. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. That's what, and it's a 15-minute drive for me to get there. It's funny, like in Montreal, 15 minutes to get there, half an hour to come back. I don't get it, but it's Montreal. So it's going to be very interesting. The nano work is also very interesting. The battery work is also interesting. But I also have to be, cautious that what we're doing with hydrogen could actually have an impact on what we're doing in the battery work. But we will see with time.
Okay, I can't just leave it hanging on that. What I mean, are you talking about down the road? Technically, if this hydrogen venture reaches maximum potential, yes, it could power everything on the planet, which could impact automobiles as well, I guess. But is that what you're referring to? Which is something?
Yeah, that's so.
Are you referring to something closer than
no, no. I'm sort of referring to something closer. It's like people are waking up to silicon being used in batteries. Okay, but I still, as a person involved in industry, okay, are sort of seeing, okay, what we're looking at doing is so massive and so changing that if there is a intermediary solution that allows us to use a lot of the same infrastructure that we develop, okay, to operate green, I think that is also going to become a solution of change. It's become very, very clear. What's very bizarre about renewable energy is that all the renewable energy capacity has made more demand for fossil fuel, because there's no mix and match between the demand of energy and when you're manufacturing, when you're using renewable. So it's either has to go battery or hydrogen storage, where you take the energy which has a negative cost because you're producing too much renewable energies and converting hydrogen to use it afterward. Or what we do in Quebec is we have hydropower where we basically store the water. So when there's a lot of renewable energy, we just we just keep the water in reservoir. And when New York needs the energy at night, we just send them the energy. So there's all those things, those parts that are moving. So it's gonna be a fascinating years coming along. So, and we're just in the middle of it, and we're at the cross of it. Silicone, whatever happens, is a material that we use in everyday life. Okay, so that's incredibly well positioned. Silicone for electronics, we need for chips. You all heard about the stories of chips and everything, those issues. So it's going to be an exciting years coming along, but we don't know at this stage. We don't know what's going to be the winning technology. We don't know. Nobody can say they know. So what we do at HPQ is we focus on multiple things. We know that silicone is always going to be in demand because it's needed in everything.
Yeah, but in past presentations, you've been pretty confident that you guys, in partnership with PyroGenesis, are going to be, you have a high degree of expectation you're going to succeed because you do cheaper than everybody. You do it with.
I have no doubt that we're going to succeed. I have no doubt. And if it came out as I doubt something was going to succeed, it's not that. I'm just not sure about the market. Okay, markets could evolve and change much faster than people think they're going to change. So you got to be at the same time looking forward to different markets, which what we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, so that's the way it is. I don't have any issue that, technically speaking, we will be able to make the materials that everybody needs for batteries now and moving forward. Okay. The question is, will the battery market be as big or bigger? That's an unknown at this moment. Okay.
Yeah, at this stage, it could be more than big enough for it'll be more than big enough.
It's gonna at this stage it's gonna be more than big, but right now all the big, everybody wants to become the biggest battery players and battery manufacturers and battery metal maker. Right? We've chosen in that space to do the silicone part of the business. So we're not going the anode part. We're not going those things. We might go some carbonation process and how to make silicone better and those types of issues. But that's where we decided, that's the niche we've decided to take a look at, because we think that's going to be the most rewarding niche. If you think about it, there was a lot of companies that when the internet started, a lot of companies that wanted to be browser company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? But the company that made more money was the one that was making the routers. So that's sort of the way I look at it.
All right, Bernard, congratulations on the next iteration here of this hydrogen extraction technology venture. Can't wait for the validation to take place, hopefully sooner than later, but we know you talked about 60 days. So sometime next 60 days, we're going to have you back. But in the meantime, another big milestone, and look forward to having you back, my friend.
Yep. Oh, you'll have, I have multiple verticalities. There should be one or two that allows me to come back. Before the
validation?
Probably.
All right.
I wouldn't say no. Like that's why I love having multiple verticalities.
Or multiple verticals.
Verticals. Yeah, I know. French.
Have a great day, my friend. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thank you. Bye.
To everybody at home, you've been watching Bernard Tourillon, Chairman and CEO of HPQ Silicon Resources. For those new to the story, get to the Agoracom profile page for the company, get a good 1,000-foot overview of what it does, and then head over to the HPQ Silicon website from there, and you can see it above Bernard in order to do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.